on to the Thai authorities. Well, since the blast, a number of different statements have emerged from official sources in Thailand. It makes it hard to work out what we actually know about the bomber or the bombers. With me today is Lee Jones, who's a specialist in Southeast Asian politics from Queen Mary University here in London. Lee, I should just ask you first what you make of Jonathan's report there, for actually finding evidence, bits of shrapnel from the blast. The station's closed.
It's quite remarkable, but it does signify the general level of chaos in this investigation. And actually, a very similar thing happened in a series of bombings in 2006 when the police allowed street sweepers to move in and sweep away the debris that they should have collected and passed on to forensic examiners.
So you see a level of inability to deal with the situation?
The Thai police don't have the level of professionalism or the expertise required to conduct this investigation properly. And yet at the same time, the government has refused international assistance. So the British government has offered aid and it's been rejected. And it's only 3 days after the bombing that the Thai police have even filed a warrant with Interpol.
And there is a level of confusion, isn't there, about foreign involvement? Today we're hearing that an international terror network, Al-Qaeda's involvement, for example, seems to be being ruled out. Does that seem logical to you, Lee?
I'm not sure on what basis they would make that assessment. So there's massive confusion about the man in yellow, whether he's Thai, whether he's foreign. We've had different reports. He's Thai, he's a foreigner, he's Arab-looking, he's Caucasian, etc. I'm not sure on what basis they would make that judgment. It seems to be foreign intelligence agencies telling them that there isn't this terrorist chatter. But at the same time, there's now talk about a 10-person network, some of whom may be from abroad. And the police seem to be pursuing the line that there is a link to the deportation of Uyghurs to China, even though the dictator, General Prayut, has ruled that out of hand entirely. So as you say, there are massively contradictory messages coming out, and I think still the reality is they haven't ruled anything out and they have no particular leads.
Whenever there is a disaster like this, an act of terror, there's always a public pressure, isn't there, for answers quickly from the authorities. The authorities are under a lot of pressure. But here you feel that politics entered the game very quickly.
Almost immediately. General Prayut was linking the attack to a posting on Facebook from a red shirt activist, an anti-government activist from the northeast. That was then quickly backtracked on and they said, oh, we're not even sure if we're looking for a Thai. And his actions, in terms of being very erratic and idiosyncratic and bumbling, I think are misleading investigators. So on the one hand, he's saying there is no link to the Uyghurs, and even if they claim responsibility now, I wouldn't believe it. So the police, who are apparently pursuing that as the main line of inquiry, are then forced to come out and say that, oh, well, we're not really looking into that. So he is definitely not helping the situation at all, and it's lending a general air of chaos and incompetence to the investigation.
Do you think we can say with any certainty that this is likely to be domestic? There has been a lot of anger in Thai politics, ripples of violence, as we know.
Well, again, some of the police are still trying to link this to domestic opponents of the regime. And basically, they're trying to imply that it's a continuation of previous bomb attacks that have not destabilised the government. I think that's probably unlikely because we're talking then about the red shirts. Why would they want to massacre large numbers of Thai citizens and foreign tourists? They've never tried anything like that before. I think the most plausible link is either to the Uyghur issue or it's an escalation of the southern bombings. Lots of people say, well, this has never happened before. The Muslim separatists in the south never strike outside the south. But in the end, the police's best guess about the 2006 bombings was that it was carried out by those Muslim separatists, perhaps with external assistance from Jamaat Islamiyah, which is a Southeast Asian-wide version of Al-Qaeda. So those, to me, seem like the best two leads. But at the same time, we really don't know anything.
And it could be an individual or a few people disaffected for entirely different reasons. I mean, that idea of a rogue act of terror could be the case here.
Absolutely. What I've called the wildcard option. It could have nothing to do with the usual suspects at all. And we still don't know even, are we looking for one person, just the person in yellow? Is it now 3 people, the person in red and in white? Or is it 10 people? The reality is, I think, that the Thai police are chasing their tails. They're under a lot of pressure. Their dictator is not helping them in the slightest with his public remarks. And they really need some more professional and expert assistance from outside.
Well, Lee Jones, thank you for your expertise on this. Thank you very much for joining us. And we, in fact, have some breaking news coming in for you now on this story. breaking news from the Thai police saying that 2 men seen in a security camera video in the Erawan shrine just before Monday's bomb attack have handed themselves into the authorities. This is just coming in. We'll get you more details. But these are the men in red and white T-shirts who were considered to be possible suspects as they get up from a bench shortly before the main suspect in yellow sits down, leaving behind his backpack. Lee, I'm going to ask you for your reaction to this, in fact, but the police are saying the 2 men have told them they're both tour guides. Now, the police are still questioning them. Lee, this could just be a tying up of a detail in that these men may be entirely innocent, but it could be a lead as well. Well,
we don't know yet, but you know, the person who had posted on Facebook that General Prayut singled out, he had had to hand himself into police. And also there was an Australian model and Thai B-movie actor who was also kind of outed wrongly on social media as being the bomber because he has some physical resemblance, and he also had to hand himself into police in order basically to prevent them being lynched. So
the real danger here, as you've been saying, is the rush to judgment.
Absolutely, we must be very careful.
Lee, thank you. Well, the era